Okay, the next problem I'm going to go over with you is actually make sure that you get these completed. I'm going to use a different piece of paper to complete the process for each one of these. So the next one's doing the substitution method. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite the problem. I'm going to choose number 6. So let me see if I can zoom in a little bit more so you can see this one better. Okay, so here we go. I zoomed in. I'm looking at number 6. Notice that in order for us to do substitution, we must have one equation that has one variable by itself. We didn't have that, so that's what we did. We added y to both sides to be able to get x by itself, which gave us y plus 13. Once we have one of the variables by themselves, then we go back to the other equation and replace that variable with what it equals, in this case y plus 13, to write our new equation, which is here. We use the parentheses. Notice that we have this parenthesis here, which means that you're going to have to use the distributive property. So I'm going to go ahead and pick it up from here, and I'm going to use a different piece of paper or do this in the notebook. So we're doing number 6. I'm going to copy it down. With the new equation where the variable is by itself, and writing our new equation. 4 parentheses y plus 13 plus 2y equals 10. So I'm going to put this over so you can see that, maybe write a little bit bigger. So now what we want to do is we want to make sure that we solve for y, which is one of the variables. When we solve for y, we're going to have to go back into one of these equations and find the second variable. So the first things first, I have to distribute, which means that I have to take whatever number is outside of the parentheses and I have to multiply it into each one of the terms, keeping in mind that we have to keep track of the signs. This is a positive, so a positive times a positive becomes a positive 4y. A positive 4 times a positive 13, that becomes plus 52. Again, 4 times 13 is 52. Plus 2y equals 10. Now we have to look at what's on this side of the equation and see if there's anything that is alike, any like terms. And notice that I do have like terms. My like terms are 4y and 2y. They both have the same variable to the same power. They're both positive, so if I add them and combine them together, I have 4y plus 2y, which turns out to be 6y plus 52 equals 10. Almost done. The next step I have to do is subtract 52 from both sides. Again, I'm using my additive inverse or subtraction property of equality. So if I subtract 52 from both sides, bring this down, I didn't do anything to it. This becomes 0. We have the same amount and opposite signs, they cancel each other out. Equals, and then this is a negative 42. And the last step to solving this one is having to divide by 6, because this operation here is multiplication. So if I divide both sides by 6, I get y equals negative 7. And I'm not done here. Once I know what y equals, I still need to know what the other variable equals. In this case, x. So I'm going to go and use the equation where I already have x by itself, because it'll make it easier for me to solve for it. I'm going to take this over and replace the y with what it equals, which is a negative 7. And rewriting this equation gives me x equals negative 7 plus 13 If I combine these two numbers, I have a positive and a negative, which means their signs are different. So I take the difference between 7 and 13, and that difference is a positive 6. So I have my two variables, my x and my y. So if I want to write my point, now I know that my solution point is 6, comma, negative 7. If I'm not too sure if I did my work right, you can always go back and check by replacing the x with a 6 and the y with a 7 into both of the equations. If you get two true statements, you know you did the work right.